1 second. Sorry about that. Just for all the people that are not here, I want to make sure that they get this info. Okay. So energy work, what is it? I get a lot of questions about like, what is energy work? What do you mean when you talk about it? So this is my definition that I kind of got here. Energy work is the practice of sensing, channeling, and manipulating subtle energy to bring balance, healing, and alignment to a person's body, mind, and spirit. It's based on the idea that everything is made of energy, and when this energy becomes blocked, stagnant, or imbalanced, it can manifest as physical, emotional, or spiritual distress. So you might have noticed this in a lot of different ways. It really depends on what the energy is. Usually things will show up on the spiritual plane first, and then that'll start to affect the mind, and then eventually that'll affect the body. So when things have gotten to a physical level, that is just because it's the most latent stage of, you can almost think of it like a disease, and they do definitely manifest as diseases sometimes. So here are just different forms of energy work. Reiki, chakra balancing, aura
Sorry,
cleansing.
sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you're not sharing your screen on purpose, but we don't see it.
Oh, let me, I could have sworn I hit share screen. 1 second. It's not saying, it's hiding from me. Okay, here it is. Sorry about that. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah, so we got Reiki, chakra balancing, aura cleansing, clairvoyant healing. I could also put reading in there as well. Crystal healing, sound healing, just to name a few. We're going to be kind of going into that aura cleansing kind of space today because it's just really important in the world that we live in, and just there's not a lot of communication or really transparency about how to clean the aura. And so these are the things that I found that have worked for me and that I've learned in my psychic training, and I found that they are very effective. So as far as seeing energy, there's some people, they say, I'm not psychic, I can't see energy, that sort of stuff. The thing is, everyone's psychic, and it translates in different ways depending on the person, depending on what you're naturally good at. So I'm personally a very visual person, so it's always showed up to me in the clairvoyant space. I also have some of the other clairs as well, but some people are more clairaudient, so they might receive a message from spirit and it really downloads and they can just hear that communication. Some people, it's more of a knowing, or some people, it's more of that clairsentient, so they can really feel into the energy around them. So we all have this gift, and we are kind of born, and just like with anything, we're naturally more gifted at some things, and then other things we're maybe not so good at. So it's the same with psychic stuff. Some people are just naturally stronger at it. However, it is something that you can nurture and grow, just like any other skill. So there's a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, I was so weird. I was just thinking about you. And then I looked at my phone and I saw that you were calling me." So that sort of things happens a lot. Or it's, I just had a feeling that that friend wasn't doing well and I reached out to her and turns out she's been really sick. So we all have these things that happen, and some more extreme than others. So just kind of to show that we all are truly psychic. And there are tools and practices that help strengthen that intuition, help strengthen that clairvoyant, or any of the clairs, really. You can get better at it with practice. So the cool thing about energy work, it can be done in person or remotely, as energy is not bound by time or space. It is often used to promote relaxation, release emotional blocks, support physical healing, and enhance spiritual connection. So the really cool thing about energy work, to me that I've noticed is it's really not bound by time or space. And so, yeah, the cool thing is we can do this sort of thing over remotely and virtually without having to be in person. And I just find that really interesting and that transcendent quality of energy work, how it can kind of go into the past, it can go into the future. It's very magical and mystical in the way that it operates. So the aura, I just want to go over some basics. So there's 7 layers of the aura. Just for in terms of corresponding to the 7 main chakras, there's definitely more chakras than that. Just to keep it simple, to go over the main ones. So we have, the root chakra corresponding with the first aura layer, which has to do with safety, security, and then we have the sacral, solar plexus, heart chakra. So those would be having to do with second, third, fourth aura layer, and then the fifth aura layer, sixth, and seventh having to do with the crown. And I'll quickly go over in the next slide which chakra layer corresponds with what, an aura layer corresponds with what emotion and what's going on with those. So you can kind of see this aura chakra person. So you can see this gold ring around it. That's the auric boundary. It's very important. And then this golden sun right here represents our connection with our higher self. And this is called a grounding cord. So grounding cords are very important for releasing energy. It connects up to that root chakra. And what we'll do when we're meditating is that's really the place where you're releasing things out. You want to see that grounding cord going into the center of the planet, connecting there. And then that's where you can release that energy. Many people in the world will kind of just, run around not being super grounded. And so a grounding cord, when you put that in, it helps to ground the spirit in the body and then also helps to facilitate that movement of energy. It's really important. Another thing I want to mention about the aura is a healthy distance for the aura to be around you is usually about 3 feet around you on all sides. That also can be an arm's length around you. So if I just put my arm around and I move it, that's where my hand is. That's going to be the edge of my auric field. So you can even put your hands out. You can kind of experiment with playing around. It's kind of cool. You can feel like the edge of that aura there. Sometimes we'll shrink it in when we're feeling not so great or overstimulated or like we want to protect ourselves. And sometimes it's all the way out. And then we're like absorbing all the energy all around us in the room. So it's something that you can really, with your intention, just kind of place that aura boundary as being that 3 feet all around you. And then the aura layers. So the first aura layer with that root chakra having to do with foundation and just grounding, that relationship with that grounding cord being very important. And then the second aura layer, which has to do with that sacral, having to do with, I usually see creativity and also our emotions will reside there as well. And then that third aura chakra layer having to do with willpower, confidence, going out in the world and doing things. It's like that masculine, solar doing energy. And then the heart chakra, I usually see as a level of havingness. And what I mean by havingness is there's an aspect of self-worth in that, of how do you feel about yourself? And then also a level of connection that you feel with the world around you and that love and connection, especially, and belonging. And then the fifth aura layer having to do with the throat chakra, I usually will see authenticity come through that space as really showing up and being your authentic self in an embodiment aspect, And then also the throat chakra having to do with communication. And then six aura layer, this having to do with the third eye. That's where your ability to see energy resides, is in that pineal gland. That's where your perspectives about the world, usually I see that in there. And then also any beliefs that you have about the world, beliefs that you have about yourself. So I'll often see a lot of programming in that third eye, sixth aura chakra space. And then the seventh aura layer having to do with the crown chakra, the relationship to spirit, the relationship with your higher self, um, any kind of spiritual communication really usually lands in that crown chakra space. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to talk about again this higher self connection. So usually I'll see a bright golden sun about above somebody, and I'll see, especially if it's really strong, that connection, a golden cord going from that sun to the person. And sometimes there's some obstruction or just an energy getting in the way of that. So I just wanted to make a note of that because that can be some cool imagery that maybe you can play with when you're meditating. Okay. So we call running energy in my psychic schools basically running your earth and cosmic energy. So earth energy, I usually will see as when I'm bringing that in as more grounding, more having to do with nature. It's very nurturing. Whereas the cosmic energy, and I'll walk you guys through this in a second, but I'll see it as more ethereal, lighter in its color and energy, and just a little more sparkly, a little transparent. And so what we're going to be doing is um, pulling that, first pulling up earth energy from the planet, and you're going to be running it up through your leg channels, up your feet, up the legs, and then down your grounding cord. And then after that, what we're going to be doing is running cosmic energy. So that's pulling energy up from the cosmos, bringing it down, mixing with that earth energy, and then bringing it up the chakras, and then eventually spilling out into the aura around you. And so that really helps to get the energy moving in your auric field. And it also just, yeah, helps to clear anything out, bring you into present time, and just kind of flushes all of those chakra centers to keep that energy moving and flowing. All right. And then at the very end, we'll be filling in with the golden sun. And that's where you're going to be pulling all of your energy back from all of time and space into that golden sun. So you can almost think of it like it's a magnet, and it's magnetizing all of your own energy to it. And then we're going to be bringing that golden sun at the end down through our entire aura. So that's really filling in. You're really creating a lot of space when you run your earth and cosmic energy. And so after you create space, you really want to fill in. So filling in with that golden vibration, it's a very healing vibration. And so filling in with that with your own energy is a good practice for like cleansing and releasing, after cleansing and releasing from the aura. All right. So foreign energy. Foreign energy is anything that's not yours. It can be from a place, it can be from other people. What foreign energy is anything that gets stuck in your aura and it's not innately yours. Foreign energy will usually have a funky texture to it. It'll be like a darker color. Kind of see, it could be a little gooey, like this pink, or if someone's like feeling really inflamed or angry, sometimes it can come like a swirling red vortex like this. Or if it's like a dark purplish cloud, maybe there's like some grief in the heart chakra or some sadness. Maybe there's like this guy who's frowning. It's like a little bit of like helplessness feeling like I'm just a pile of goo and there's nothing I can do. All of this stuff, or there's like an alien energy. All this stuff is foreign energy. So it's usually does not feel good when it's in your aura. It's like when you just don't feel good and you don't know why, usually the blame you can point to as being because of foreign energy, because it's not meant to be in your auric field. So that's why it doesn't feel good. It's if foreign energy gets in, usually we should be able to move it out, notice it, move it out. Because we're not taught this in school, most people will have foreign energy in their auras and they feel a little gross, not really sure why. So yeah, blocks your own energy from flowing. It's got that darker either texture or heavy texture or darker color, usually from your environment or other people. Can also be from the past, just energy that has lingered. And even though it's not happening right now and it's not in present time, it's still in your aura. Um, and yeah, it doesn't feel good in the body. And then you have your own energy. So your own energy is very bright, it's very sparkly, usually translucent. It's going to feel good in your body, right? So when you bring in your own energy and it's gonna it's not going to make you feel gross. It's going to be like, oh, this feels right. Something about this feels really good. It's either usually a neutral vibration or it's higher in vibration than you are, or like positive emotions like joy, hope, uh, a level of excitement, play, curiosity, love and connection, all of those things. I usually will see, depending on the situation, coming in as your own energy. It facilitates the movement of the aura, so it does not create stuckness like foreign energy. It helps keep those things moving, helps keep you be in present time. Um, and then it creates that innate connection to spirit and your higher self. So that's usually what I will see come in towards the ends of readings or when I'm running my own energy and bring my own energy back in, is that I feel more connected with my intuition. I feel more connected with my higher self. That's a good indicator for knowing that you're bringing in your own energy versus foreign. All right. Another really important thing is the auric boundary. So what my psychic school taught us was to put a giant rose. You could just visualize it when you're meditating out in front of you and let that rose absorb any energy from the outside world. So if anybody throws anything at you on a spiritual level, or you're just in a negative, quote unquote, environment in general, you can let that rose represent a barrier so that you're not letting things permeate into the aura. So with that intention, it really helps to keep you separate from the outside world, spiritually speaking. So over time, sometimes that hello rose it might get a little dirty or kind of looking a little sad, and you can just blow it up and create a new one. So this is all with your intention and visualization. And even if you can't see it when you're meditating, your intention is the most important thing. And or you can feel that it's there, or you just intend that it's there. So you don't have to be able to see energy to do this. And it really, this auric boundary really is showing the rest of the world and yourself that you are in control of your own aura. So on the other side of that rose, that's the rest of the world. They can do whatever they want. They can, do a bunch of crazy stuff, but you in your own aura, that's your safe space. And that's really important. And it's really key for us to be able to maintain that boundary and to have our own aura for ourselves. It's a practice, and it's definitely something that it takes time to get good at that separation, but I found it to be really transformative. And then ideally, there's no foreign interference. That's in an ideal world that you can stay pretty neutral about stuff. Um, but yeah, the Hello Rose and the auric boundary just kind of helps to keep that aura clean as well and prevents foreign energy from being able to cross that boundary. So, yeah, energetic hygiene. Talk about that. Think of it like you're showering. You want to stay clean. You want to, just like you want your aura to be pretty translucent and like there's not anything in there. Um, but most of the time, what'll happen is things will accumulate over time to the point where it just feels really uncomfortable. But we don't know quite why. And then it's like we'll go on a nature walk, or we'll take a bath, and then it's like, oh, I feel so much better after. Usually indicator that the aura had some stuff in it. So it's important to have energetic hygiene, um, just to keep things moving so that you can move through energy, you can move through emotions. You don't have to get as stuck in things. Uh, and yeah, it just helps keep you in the present moment, because I'll see a lot of things from the past just really pile up with people, and it literally, all it takes is just from energetic hygiene. They move it out, they bring in their own energy, and then they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Feel amazing now. It's feeling like crap 30 minutes ago, but now I feel great. So if you create a daily practice with it, it can make a lot of shifts in your life because you're able to cycle through, move through that energy in present time. So amusement, this is another key point for psychic spiritual work. Just keeping that little bit of humor, keeping that a little bit of lightness. Because sometimes when we get hit with an energy, especially when it's really heavy or dark or painful, just even having a little bit of amusement, just a little bit, like whether it's a meme that you saw last week that you still think is really funny, or it's like an image of something, that just helps to facilitate that movement of energy. Um, because with these heavier energies, they don't really want to move. And so we can get pulled into them sometimes, or it's like a heaviness on us and we feel stuck. It usually creates that sense of stuckness. But when you bring a little bit of amusement into it, it can just really help work on that stuckness, to get it to the point where it can start to flow and move out. So that's very, very key. Uh, and my spiritual teachers like to call it amusement, spiritual lube, because it just helps for everything to like move and flow, and just especially when grounding out and you're like grounding things out of your aura, like with the grounding cord, it just helps facilitate that flow. So yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, one more thing. I just want to talk about past lives, because sometimes this will happen. You'll be meditating, or someone will say, like, oh, I got this image when I was meditating, or I saw this person and they were in this foreign land, and what was that about? And I don't really know what that was. It was probably, most likely, from a past life. Um, Especially if it feels really random, you don't really know the time and place, just seem from like out of time and it hits you kind of randomly. That's what I usually see as past lives coming up. There's usually the reason why those past lives are coming up is because there's either some level of communication that wants to come through from that past life, or there's some sort of lesson that wants to be communicated so that you can facilitate that in present time. Usually, past lives won't come up randomly. There's always a reason for it. So it's just something to keep in mind if that ever has happened to you or happens in the future. Yeah, it's more trying to communicate something to you so that you can resolve something right now. And without further ado, let's meditate. So if you could just gently close your eyes, you can get comfortable. Really feel your body being connected to the chair or the floor or wherever you are. And bring your attention to the center of your head. So, what I mean by the center of your head is that third eye space, that place where you see the world and you can see energy. And as you focus on that third eye space, what you can do is you can imagine a grounding cord. You can imagine that out in front of you. It could be just a line of golden light. It could be a waterfall. It could be a rainbow, anything that feels right to you. And then what you can do is you can reach out with your psychic hands and then attach that grounding cord to your hips, really letting it latch into that root chakra. And then let it flow down to the center of the planet. Letting it latch into the core of the earth. You can even take your psychic hands and just make sure that it's really attached there. And with your intention, you can just imagine anything that no longer serves you, anything that is not truly yours, to flow down that grounding cord. And just imagine it going down into the planet. Could be anything from last week, any communication from other people, anything from your to-do list that you have to do later today. Just letting it flow down. And as you do that, you can imagine a color coming from the planet to use as your earth energy today. It can be the color gold or green or any other color that you feel will help ground you into this present moment. You can imagine that color coming up from the planet, rising up and going through your legs, up through the knees, through the thighs, and then finally reaching the hips and going down that grounding cord so that that earth energy is also helping to flush out that grounding cord as well. You can notice maybe the movement, the energy movement that naturally starts to happen as you do this. And then with your intention, you can imagine a cosmic energy that you would like to work with. You can pick a color, maybe it's a light pink or a purple or a sparkly green. And just pick a color that most resonates. And imagine that it's coming down from the cosmos, down the back of your head, down the shoulders, down your back. And then finally, let it reach the root chakra where that earth energy is also running. You can let those earth and cosmic energies mix together, imagining around 80% cosmic energy and 20% earth energy to form. You can imagine it maybe like a helix or just the two energies, two colors together, forming in that root. And then when that feels complete, you can allow it to rise up, letting it go through the sacral chakra next, that navel area, letting it clean out anything that needs to be released there, any foreign emotions. And then next, you can allow that mixture to rise up into the solar plexus. Again, allowing any energies that is not yours to be released. You can imagine it just going down and dropping out that grounding cord that you have connected with the planet. Next, you can imagine it going to the heart chakra, clearing out any maybe past hurts or anything that's just been stuck there and hasn't been able to move. Allow it to be flushed out. Letting the energy really move and flow, even in between the chakra centers. So, seeing those chakra centers, how they connect with each other, and how it's like a stream of energy. Next, you can allow it to rise up to the throat, letting any forms of communication that maybe you want to give or things that happened in the past, just let it drain out of that space. Anything that's not in present time. Letting it all move down and out into the earth through that grounding cord. Letting it drain out that space. Cleaning and cleansing. And then you can imagine that energy flowing down the shoulders through the elbows and then finally out through the palms of your hands, letting those little chakras in the hands getting a healing, getting a cleaning. You can just imagine them fountaining out through those hands. And then moving up to the third eye, so that center of head space, clearing and cleansing anything that is not yours. You can imagine like you're flushing. It's almost like you're using cleansing spiritual water. And you can just imagine that it's just removing anything that is not in that cleansing spiritual vibration. And then when that feels complete, you can let that energy fountain out through your crown chakra. So fountaining out through the top of your head. You can imagine that it goes up into that auric boundary about 3 feet above your head, letting it coat the edge of your auric field. So on that 3 feet all around you, let it fill in all the space that's there in your aura. Letting anything that is not yours, again, to be flushed down the grounding cord. Anything that's in the aura feels a little funky. And then when that feels complete, you can imagine or intend that there is a big rose out in front of you. You can imagine it any color you would like. Maybe it's a vibrant red or blue. You can let it get really big, almost the size of your auric field. And just place it on the edge of that aura with the intention that as you go throughout your day, that any foreign energy that is not yours can just go into that Haloros. This is your way of announcing your presence to the world and also shows the world that you have an auric boundary where you are in your own protection of your aura and that everything else can just exist on the other side of that rose. Awesome. So whenever you're ready, you can imagine a bright golden sun over the top of your head, letting it get really big and really sparkly. You can intend that there's a magnet inside that golden sun that is attracting to it all of your energy from all of time and space to this present moment. You can just watch or feel as that gets bigger and brighter, as it fills with your own energy, along with that healing golden light. And whenever you're ready, you can bring that golden sun down through the top of your head, through your aura, through your arms, your palms, down your legs, and then finally out through the bottom of your feet, letting it fill into any space that has been created in your aura. Let it fill in with that golden light. And whenever you're ready, you can stretch and move and come out of meditation. This thing behind me keeps falling off. It's pretty funny. So we are going to get to questions because I want to make sure you have time for questions and just any kind of discussion about how that landed for you or anything that you experienced. But just real quick, I just wanted to mention that I do offer virtual energy readings and healings. I also do recorded readings, chakra breakdown report. I made a guidebook of how to become a psychic witch bitch, which is a fun little thing. And then I have an Activate Your Intuition course, which my intention was to really help people open their third eyes. And so it's a lot of different practices to help open the third eye. So if that's something that you're interested in, maybe check it out. But yeah, if you're looking for any extra support, I definitely have some stuff going on. Um, Yeah, I would love to have a little discussion. You guys, like any questions or how that was for you? I did see that I missed a question in the chat. Okay. If you do not have foreign interference, will I no longer feel what others feel? Because my mission is connected to using my empathic abilities. So if you do not have foreign interference, there's a difference between having no auric boundary. So that would be not having a hello rose and just letting things come into your aura, which is part of what being a natural empath is. And the issue with that can be you have no control over what other people are feeling, what other people throw at you. You basically, what natural empaths just will tend to do, and I know because I used to be like this, is you just absorb the energy of the environment that is around you. And the problem with that is that you're just really becoming your environment. And then you don't have your own space in that environment to really be able to know how you feel outside of that environment because your aura is literally taking all of that in. And then also, it's just you lose a sense of your autonomy in terms of having boundaries. So boundaries are important. They're also important on the spiritual realm. And so when you intend to have an auric boundary, which our auras are supposed to be our boundaries, and you're just absorbing those things in, it doesn't mean when you have a boundary that you're not sensing the energy on the other side of that. If you're naturally empathic, if you're naturally intuitive, you're going to pick up on that stuff, but you're not going to feel it so much on a body level. Uh, a lot of empaths will, without that boundary, will just go into an environment and they'll really feel it and be in it. And especially, I know for me personally, I really felt it on a physical and emotional level. And so when we don't have space for that, it's hard to be able to tell what is my energy versus what is someone else's energy. And that is something that with time and practice can be really helpful is to even just to notice that I'm feeling this way and my environment is this way and that distinction, and then keeping a little bit of a boundary because otherwise we're not in control of our experience as much. And we're putting the power in other people. And because we're allowing those energies to move through us. And because of that, we're taking on partial responsibility for them because we're starting to take them on. And then that's kind of becoming me. Then that becomes me because I'm letting it in. But you can still sense things and sorry, I just got distracted by the chat. You can still sense things even with having a boundary. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just nice to know, okay, this is me. I'm on one side of my aura. This is me. And then this is the rest of the world. And there's a safety and security in knowing that I can have control of my own aura. Because if the person outside of you is going through a crazy time, crazy grief, crazy whatever it is, if you don't have that boundary, then you're becoming that energy. And then it's hard for you to be able to even help that person because you're just matching them. But if you hold that boundary and you're holding a neutral, healing, just presence, that person is going to get out of more of that interaction from you because you're not becoming their energy. You're holding a different vibration. You're holding a higher vibration. And then it's kind of inviting them to come up where maybe you are, right? But that's up to them, like what they want to do. But if you're going down to meet them where they're at, then and if it's like a low vibrational point, there's not a lot of healing that can happen there. So I hope that answered your question.
That was my question. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Well, I'm glad. I was in the middle of talking about that. I was like, I don't know if this makes any sense. So
It was hard for me to even form the question,
yeah.
but that really hit deep. I've never been able to separate the two, so this is going to be life-changing, I think. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's practice. Again, it's doing it and it's kind of noticing. And then sometimes you go throughout the day and you'll notice, oh, hey, I didn't put up a hello rose today. I don't have a boundary. You'll be like in the middle of the grocery store, feeling incredibly overwhelmed. And you're like, I don't know
Mhm.
why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And it's like, oh, I do not have an auric boundary right now. I'm literally becoming the energy of everyone in this grocery store and also all of the products in the grocery store. So, yeah, that can be why that boundary is
Oh
really
yeah, you
important.
really hit the nail head on there when you were talking about mirroring energy and then keeping your own vibe kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you so much. It's going to be so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. How we get affected by random people's energy. If certain cities have certain energy realms. You know, I was in New York City for a long time, and that's definitely a vortex because I had a hard time getting out of there. Um, I saw it, it was almost like it was pulling me in and it was hard to get out. It was like almost like a black hole. And I just was, and I also had to climb my way energetically out of there. But yeah, they definitely, different cities have different energies. You know, LA has a very different energy than New York. Sedona, Arizona has a very different energy from Chicago. Um, how we get affected by random people's energy on the street. It really depends. So again, if you're a really naturally empathetic person, and which a lot of empaths come into the world with not a lot of energetic boundaries whatsoever. And that's just how empathic people are. It's really developing that skill of starting to have an empathic boundary, or auric boundary. Um, it can hit you on different levels. For me, like when I was in New York City, uh, how it affect me is I would just absorb the energies and emotions of the people around me. So I used to live in work in Times Square, and I would maybe pass by maybe 2,000 people a day. It was probably more than that. To maybe 2 or 3,000 people just based on my commute. Because I was in the subway with tons of people. I would be walking in the Times Square area. We were a little outside of Times Square, but I would walk by a lot of people. And I think I just started to notice, especially as I became more in tune with my spiritual abilities, that I was just absorbing a lot of stuff and a lot of other people's stuff and people's energies. And yeah, sometimes it takes only passing somebody on the street or being in a grocery store and being around other people. And then all of a sudden you're like, why do I feel like crap when 30 seconds ago I was fine? Like, why would all of a sudden, and it's probably because you're picking up on the energy of someone who's in that grocery store or someone who you just so happen to pass by because you're sensitive to that. And that's how I've really noticed it, from an empathic level is it really hits in that emotional space usually. But yeah, it'll come up and it'll be like, why am I feeling this way? I don't know. And then eventually you will meditate or you'll do something and then you'll feel better. It's because their energy there was like a transference that happened on a subconscious level, and all of a sudden you're taking on their energy. Again, these things are kind of hard to talk about, so I hope I answered your question. If I did not, please let me know.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Someone,
but like the cities, like I live in Germany, in Munich, and I spent the last like until January, I spent 4 months in Paris, and I was like feeling very energetic. And then
yeah,
when I came back, I realized like my energy just dropped so much. Uh, Especially in winter, I think the city's energy is like really not very amusing. But I was wondering if this is just like if this is just my brain, or is it like does it have some reality to it? Yeah.
oh no, yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was part of the reason why I think I liked New York City was like the energy of New York City is like the city that never sleeps, and people are just on coffee all day, and at night they just go out and they stay up all night. And I think there's an energy of like really that excitement of like being alive, but it was like very addicting, right? Like subtly was people were just so on the go. Like just nonstop. And eventually, yeah, like that's why I had to leave was just the energy of the city is like you need to go, go, go 24/7. That's kind of just the vibe there specifically. Um, but I yeah, I couldn't take it anymore personally. But there's different areas have different energies. It depends on a number of factors, what has happened there in the past, just the natural environment in general. Like there's so many components to that. But cities almost have like a collective energy to them, I think, because there's so many people in such a small space. Um, yeah, I'm glad that was, yeah, that does sound like an intense experience. But what I'm getting from that is that you were moving a ton of energy, which is a really good sign. I know sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable sometimes when we move through these energies. And yeah, definitely crying can be a part of that. Also, yawning a lot can be a part of that. Like when I'm meditating and I'm just yawning a lot, that's usually a sign that energy is moving. Yeah, sometimes I'll randomly start crying. It's just like all that energy, that flow. Sometimes my eyes will water, another sign of energy movement. The hand chakras. So a lot of our healing energy usually comes from the hand chakras. So a lot of body work stuff like Reiki. It's the only thing that's coming up for me right now. Like for instance, they'll lay your hands on you because the healing energy really comes out through those little hand chakras. And that's usually where that will flow out. And when I'm giving energy healings for people, I will just naturally, I'll just start putting my hands up sometimes, even if I'm virtual, because it just helps me. Just, I feel like it helps me direct that healing energy a little better. Um, but yeah, something to play with. You can even just like placing your hands on a certain area of your body. If that's an area, maybe you really want to work on the heart chakra, just placing your hands on on the heart and just intentionally saying, you know, I'm sending healing energy there, some golden light. And just with your intention and just sit there in meditation, you'll start to feel the energy coming out of your hands, all that healing energy. It's pretty neat. Fake tossing an imaginary ball. Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I used to do that, like the energy ball things. You guys ever done you do this and then you, after a while, and then you kind of feel it and you can feel the ball of energy in between your hands. That's a fun practice. But yeah, it's all just playing with it, play with the tools, and they've been really transformative for me in my life. And yeah, I would say grounding cords, key. Just don't forget about those for clearing out energy. You can keep a grounding cord with you throughout your day. All you need is the intention and like imagining that you have one. And then golden suns. You ever feeling like you need a little bit of energy, or you're just feeling a little stuck on something, needed some extra support? Imagine a big golden sun above you, that all of your energy from all the time and space is gravitating towards it, and then just let that energy come through your whole aura. um that both those tools are really helpful. All right, so if you guys don't have any more questions, we're a little over time, so I will let you go. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope this was helpful, and this was really fun. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, of course. Hope you have a great day. Okay.
You too. Bye.